You know, the book of Revelation is filled with some of the most dramatic and, let's be honest, debated prophecies in history. Today, we're going to zero in on a really specific interpretation that connects two of its final terrifying judgments directly to what happened during the fall of Jerusalem way back in the first century.
And that brings us to this big question, right? What really happens when an ancient prophecy seems to just become history? We're going to unpack how some people read this apocalyptic language not as some far off future event, but as a direct commentary on things that have already happened.
So, to get the context right, you have to understand that Revelation lays out these judgments in a sequence. There's this first series, the seven trumpets, which were basically like warning shots. But what we're focused on today, the seven vials, well, that's the final act. This is the undiluted, full-on execution of judgment. The time for warnings is officially over. Now, the text itself gives us a massive clue, a kind of interpretive key. It talks about the great city where Jesus was crucified, obviously Jerusalem, but it calls it spiritually Sodom and Egypt. And by slapping that new Egypt label on Jerusalem, this interpretation suggests that the judgments about to unfold are going to look a lot like the plagues from the book of Exodus. Okay, so this brings us right to the prophecy of the third vial, which you can find in Revelation chapter 16. And if Jerusalem is truly being set up as the new Egypt, well, what's the first major plague you'd expect to see? Something to do with the water, right? I mean, the imagery here is just incredibly intense. An angel pours out this vial and bam, the rivers and springs turn to blood. But then the text gives this chilling reason why. Because they shed the blood of saints and prophets, now they are given blood to drink. It's a punishment that, in a terrifying way, literally fits the crime. So what does that actually mean, given blood to drink? Well, according to this view, it's not literal. It's a powerful metaphor for being completely drowned in the bloodshed and carnage of war. The idea is that the very land that once drank the innocent blood of prophets would now be soaked in the blood of its own people at war. And this interpretation doesn't just come out of nowhere. It connects right back to the Gospels. In Matthew 23, Jesus gives this stark warning that the price for all the righteous blood shed throughout history would fall upon this generation. So from this perspective, the third vial isn't just some random event. It's the direct fulfillment of that prophecy, grounding it in the very specific time frame of the first century Roman-Jewish war. All right, so we've gone from bloody water, and now the judgment shifts to searing, intense fire. We're moving right along to the very next prophecy, the fourth vial, and this one targets the sky itself. Just think about that for a second. The very thing that gives life and light, the sun, is turned into a weapon. It's given the power to scourge people with fire. It's a complete flip of the natural order, creating this inescapable torment that comes from the heavens. Now, this is where you can really see how things are escalating. See, in those earlier trumpet judgments, the sun being darkened was symbolic of political chaos and governmental collapse. But now, with the vial judgments, that metaphor becomes a devastating reality. The political chaos, that darkened sun, it leads to the scorching sun, the literal fire of war burning entire cities to the ground. And if you're looking for historical evidence, this view points straight to the first century historian Josephus. His eyewitness account of the Roman siege of Jerusalem is just bone-chilling. He describes the Roman army systematically setting fire to houses and burning every single soul inside. It's a stark, real-world parallel to a prophecy about being scorched with great heat. So we've had a river of blood and a sun that scorches with fire. But, you know, the most crucial part of this whole prophecy isn't just the disaster itself. It's the reaction to it. After describing all that fire, all that torment, the passage hits its tragic peak with this one devastating line, and they repented not to give him glory. And that, right there, is the gut punch, the key takeaway. According to the text, this judgment wasn't just about punishment. It was a final, desperate wake-up call. But even in the face of unimaginable horror, war, fire, total destruction, hearts didn't change. The suffering didn't bring about repentance. The calamity, as awful as it was, went completely unheeded. And that leaves us with this final, really provocative thought. If the most extreme judgments you can imagine, rivers of blood and a sun that burns people alive, if that doesn't bring about change, what possibly could? It's a question that kind of pushes us past the history and into the deeper stuff. Themes of human nature, justice, and what it really takes to change, all echoing from this ancient text.